Today, we're talking about Queen Camilla's future and why her position could change dramatically when King Charles III's reign comes to an end. For years, Camilla fought to earn a place inside the royal family. She faced public anger, harsh criticism, and constant comparisons with Diana, Princess of Wales. Eventually, she became queen beside Charles. But here is the question many people are now asking. What happens to Camilla when Prince William becomes king? Some online reports describe secret meetings, hidden palace documents, and a possible confrontation involving Prince William and Catherine. Those claims have not been verified. So in this video, we will separate the real constitutional facts from the dramatic speculation. Because Camilla's future may be uncertain, but the reason is not a secret palace war. It is succession. Let's begin with the most important fact. Queen Camilla is the wife of King Charles III. Her position comes from her marriage to the reigning monarch. That means Camilla is a queen consort. A queen consort is the wife of a king. She may be crowned, she may be called queen, and she may perform important public duties, but she is not the sovereign. She does not rule in her own right. King Charles is the monarch. The crown belongs to him. This distinction matters because Camilla's title is connected to Charles's reign. When Charles became king in 2022, Camilla's position changed automatically from the Duchess of Cornwall to Queen Consort. At the coronation, she became known publicly as Queen Camilla. But that does not mean her current position is guaranteed to continue in exactly the same form after Charles. When a new monarch takes the throne, the entire structure of the royal family changes. The new sovereign becomes the central figure. The new monarch's spouse takes the role of consort. If Prince William becomes king, Catherine would become queen consort. Camilla would no longer be the wife of the reigning monarch. That is the simple constitutional reality. What happens when William becomes king? If King Charles dies or abdicates, Prince William would become king. Catherine, Princess of Wales, would become queen consort under the normal tradition surrounding the wife of a reigning king. That would mean Camilla's role would change. She would no longer be queen consort because Charles would no longer be the reigning monarch. If Camilla survived Charles, the traditional term for her could be Queen Dowager. The word dowager simply refers to the widow of a king. It sounds old-fashioned, but the meaning is straightforward. A queen dowager is a former queen consort whose husband has died and whose stepson or another successor has become king. Camilla would still be a respected member of the royal family. She could continue to be called Queen Camilla in public life, depending on palace decisions, but she would not be the reigning queen. She would not have the constitutional authority of King William. She would not control the crown. She would not automatically become Queen Mother because she is not William's biological mother. The exact title used in the future would depend on the new monarch, royal protocol, and official palace decisions. Some commentators believe Queen Dowager would be the most likely formal description, while others suggest the palace could continue using Queen Camilla in everyday public life. So the phrase, "her title has an expiration date," is dramatic, but it needs to be explained carefully. Camilla would not necessarily stop being a queen overnight. Instead, her role would change from the wife of the current king to the widow of a former king. The secret document claim. This is where the story becomes much more dramatic. Some reports and online videos have described a private palace meeting involving King Charles, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Catherine. The story claims that William and Catherine were waiting in a private room when Charles and Camilla entered. A sealed file was allegedly placed on a table. Inside that file, according to the unverified account, were plans for staffing, residences, security, ceremonial responsibilities, and Camilla's future position after Charles's reign. The story then focuses on a short phrase, continuation beyond the present sovereign. According to the claim, Camilla read the phrase, looked at the signature at the bottom of the page, and immediately recognized Charles's handwriting. The suggestion is that Charles had signed a reform months earlier without understanding that it could limit Camilla's future role. The story also claims that Princess Anne entered the room and that the atmosphere became completely silent. It is a powerful scene. It sounds like a political thriller. But there is no verified public evidence that this meeting occurred. No official palace statement confirms it. No authenticated document has been released. There is no reliable public evidence that Charles signed a secret document designed to restrict Camilla. There is also no confirmed record of William and Catherine confronting her about the issue. These details should therefore be described as speculation or dramatization, not confirmed fact. That distinction is important because the people involved are real, and statements about private anger, betrayal, or confrontation can easily be mistaken for genuine reporting. Why the story sounds believable, even though the secret meeting has not been confirmed, the story uses a real institutional issue. A new reign requires a clear transfer of power. The next monarch needs a new household, new advisors, new priorities, and clear lines of authority. When Charles became king, the monarchy had to reorganize around him. When William eventually becomes king, the royal family will reorganize again. That transition may involve staff and household offices, royal residences, security arrangements, public duties, charitable patronages, financial support, ceremonial precedents, official representation. None of this is unusual. Every change of reign requires careful planning. The problem begins when people confuse personal influence with constitutional authority. Camilla may remain influential because she is Charles's wife and because she has served the monarchy for many years. But personal influence is not the same as constitutional power. William would become the sovereign. His household would become the central royal household. Catherine would become the future Queen Consort. Camilla's position would need to be respected, but it would no longer be identical to the position she holds today. That is why a future monarch would probably want everything clearly defined. Not necessarily because of personal hostility. Not necessarily because of anger, because unclear authority can create confusion. If staff continued taking instructions from a previous household, if royal charities were unsure who represented them, or if two different offices appeared to speak with equal authority, the institution could face serious problems. The strongest realistic part of the story is therefore not the alleged confrontation. It is the need for a clear transition between two reigns. Camilla's long journey. To understand why this subject feels so emotional, we need to remember Camilla's history. Camilla faced years of public criticism after her relationship with Charles became known. For many people, she became associated with the breakdown of Charles's marriage to Diana. The public conversation was often cruel and unforgiving. Camilla was compared with Diana constantly. Diana was seen by millions as glamorous, emotional, and tragic. Camilla was often portrayed as the opposite. For years, it seemed almost impossible that Camilla would ever become queen. There was even uncertainty about whether she would use the title Queen Consort if Charles became king. But over time, the public image changed. Camilla began taking on more charitable work. She developed a calm and consistent public style. She supported literacy, health, animal welfare, and other causes. She became a reliable working member of the royal family. When Charles became king, Camilla finally received the title that had once appeared impossible. She became queen. That journey makes the idea of losing her current role emotionally powerful. After waiting decades to reach the position, Camilla may understandably want to know what remains after Charles's reign. But the monarchy does not operate only through personal achievement. Titles are connected to constitutional roles. Even decades of service cannot turn a queen consort into a reigning monarch. That is why the transition would happen regardless of personal feelings. Charles's difficult position, King Charles would face a complicated emotional situation. As a husband, he has supported Camilla for decades. He defended her when public opinion was hostile. He insisted that she had a legitimate place beside him. He helped transform her image from one of the most controversial figures in Britain into the Queen of the United Kingdom. But as king, Charles cannot personally control every future decision. His reign will eventually end. When William becomes king, William will have the authority to organize his own household. Charles could recommend arrangements for Camilla. He could express his wishes. He could ask that she be treated with respect and dignity. But he could not permanently control the next reign. This is where the fictional story becomes emotionally effective. It imagines Charles discovering that the institution he leads cannot protect every promise made inside his marriage. The monarchy can give Camilla a title. It can give her duties, a platform, and public recognition, but it cannot guarantee that the next monarch will organize the institution in exactly the same way. That is not necessarily betrayal. It is the nature of succession. William's possible priorities, Prince William's priorities, would likely be different from Charles's. Charles built his reign around his own long-term vision. William would eventually build a monarchy around his own. That could mean a smaller household, fewer official roles, different priorities, and a clearer separation between the previous reign and the new one. William would have to decide how much public work Camilla should continue performing. He could invite her to remain involved in selected causes. He could support her attendance at major events. He could give her a respected place within the royal family. Or he could create a much more limited role. The decision would belong to him as king. That does not prove that William is angry with Camilla. It does not prove that he wants to punish her. It means that he would be responsible for defining the institution he inherited. The online claim that William had already signed a document limiting Camilla's future has not been verified. The claim that William and Catherine secretly confronted her should also be treated as unconfirmed. But the broader possibility that William would want a clearly organized court is entirely understandable. Every future monarch must make decisions about the structure of the crown. Catherine's future role. Catherine's future would also change dramatically. At present, she is the Princess of Wales and the wife of the heir. When William becomes king, she would become Queen Consort. That would place her beside the new monarch at the center of the institution. She would have her own public duties, patronages, staff, and responsibilities. She would also become one of the most important figures in the next royal era. For that reason, Catherine would naturally have an interest in clear household arrangements. But there is no proof that she wrote a secret memorandum about Camilla. There is no confirmed evidence that Catherine approved a plan to remove Camilla's influence. There is no public statement from Catherine describing her private position. Any claim about her emotions or personal conversations should be labeled as speculation. A more responsible interpretation is that Catherine, like any future queen consort, would need to understand how the monarchy operates after a change of reign. That is preparation, not proof of a family feud. the role of Queen Dowager. The title Queen Dowager deserves special attention. A Queen Dowager is not a reigning monarch. She does not hold the crown. She does not automatically control public appointments or royal policy. But the title still carries dignity and historical importance. A Queen Dowager may retain a public identity, royal status, and a connection to the institution she once served. Whether Camilla would formally use the title every day is uncertain. The palace might refer to her as Queen Camilla. It might use a formal version such as Queen Camilla, the Dowager Queen, or it might create another style suited to the modern monarchy. The final decision would likely depend on William. This is why some commentators describe Camilla's future as being in the hands of the next king. That phrase should not be understood as a threat. It simply reflects the fact that the reigning monarch controls the organization of the modern royal household. Some published commentary suggests that Camilla could retain her queenly style while being distinguished from the reigning queen. But until the situation actually arises, nobody can say with certainty what formal title will be announced. What is fact and what is speculation? Let's make the distinction completely clear. Confirmed, Queen Camilla is the wife of King Charles III. Her current role is connected to Charles as the reigning monarch. She is not the sovereign in her own right. Prince William is the heir apparent. Catherine is the Princess of Wales and William's wife. If William becomes king, Catherine would traditionally become Queen Consort. If Camilla survives Charles, she could traditionally be known as a Queen Dowager. Unconfirmed, that William and Catherine held a secret meeting with Camilla. That a sealed file was placed on a table between them. That the file contained the phrase continuation beyond the present sovereign. That Charles signed a document limiting Camilla's future. That Charles did not read the document fully. That Princess Anne entered the room during the confrontation. That Camilla left the meeting feeling betrayed. That William was furious. That Catherine had already approved a plan to restrict Camilla's household. None of those claims should be reported as fact without reliable evidence. What could happen next? If the issue becomes more important in the future, there are several signs to watch. Look for official palace announcements about Camilla's duties. Watch whether royal schedules continue to list her as a working member of the royal family. Pay attention to discussions about royal residences, security, and public funding. Observe how William speaks about Camilla after any future transition, and watch how the palace describes Catherine's new position. A genuine change would probably appear through official communication, public appointments, formal schedules, and constitutional explanations. It would not need to rely only on anonymous sources. The most reliable information would come from official records and named experts who can explain the rules clearly. Final thoughts. So, does Queen Camilla's title have an expiration date? Her exact position as Queen Consort is connected to the reign of King Charles III. When Prince William becomes king, Catherine would become Queen Consort, and Camilla's role would change. Camilla could become known as a Queen Dowager, although the final wording and arrangements would depend on the new monarch and the palace. That is the confirmed constitutional picture. The secret room, the sealed document, Charles's unread signature, and the confrontation with William and Catherine have not been verified. They may make a compelling story, but they remain speculation. The real drama is already powerful enough. Camilla spent decades fighting for acceptance. Charles spent decades defending her. William will one day inherit the crown and decide how his monarchy is organized. Catherine will stand beside him as the next Queen Consort. And when that day comes, Camilla's position will change. Not necessarily because of hatred, betrayal, or revenge, but because every new reign creates a new order. In the royal family, titles can change. Households can disappear. Power can move from one generation to the next. And sometimes, the most painful decisions are not made because someone wants to hurt another person. They are made because the institution is bigger than any one marriage. I'm James Whitmore, and this has been Crown Watch. What do you think? Should Camilla keep a major public role after Charles's reign, or should Prince William create a completely new royal household? Share your thoughts in the comments.